back to the Slaying Self-Doubt YouTube channel. Here is where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to walk into their God-given purpose. How do we do that, you ask? Well, we create safe and brave spaces just like this for Black women to show up authentically as themselves. So join me and sometimes some of my friends or our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I am Coach Felicia, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey Slayers, welcome back to another episode of Slaying Self Doubt Podcast. It's your girl, Coach Felicia. Welcome to all the new Slayers joining our movement. Hello, hello. No matter how you found us, whether it was by way of a guest episode, episode, Instagram, YouTube, or you just found me on Google, thank you so much for being here. While you're listening, I want to ask you right now to share this episode with at least 10 people to help us hit our 100,000 download goal for this year. That's what we're trying to reach. We're getting closer to it. We're trucking along, but we need your help. And then I need you to go subscribe to the news. Go subscribe to the YouTube page and also the newsletter. You do that as well. We hit 63,000 downloads last month, so we are getting close, guys. I am excited about it because we still hit these marks and I didn't even record any episodes. So that means that you all are still listening. That means that you all are still sharing. That means that you all are still connected on this journey and want to hear what's going on. And so I'm excited about what these next couple of months are going to look like before we go back on break in July. But in the meantime, we are back. I have not had to record anything since actually January. January was the last time I recorded when I did the last episode of that answered prayers, and I shared the end of that story that I was kind of telling you all about how to deal with a difficult situation, and just the lessons that I learned. And then we did a rewind for the month of February. And really the reason why we did the rewind is that I don't think I knew at the time, but I definitely needed it. I needed that break because I ended up getting sick. My kids ended up getting sick. Then I went out of town and it was just a lot going on. Like I literally feel like it was like February 1st and then it was February 28th. Like it went by like that for me. And so not having first of all enough catalog, like praise the Lord for that, enough catalog to be able to share a series with you all that I already did that is still very important and still very much so relevant. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my consistency. Okay. And with that being said, last month we celebrated my 4-year podcast anniversary. Like 4 years. I mentioned during a celebration that I did on Instagram doing a live that when I initially uh like decided, okay, I'm going to publish, this is what's going to happen after I recorded a few episodes. I was like, I didn't even know it was Women's History Month, so I didn't even recognize the significance of it at the time. It was literally just like, oh, okay, hurry up and do this, because if you don't, girl, you're not going to. Like now knowing the significance of it for me is just is pretty dope. Like, and that just goes to show that always God is intentional about what he does, because it didn't have anything to do with me, in that moment. And I wasn't being strategic about it. I really was trying to be obedient quickly, right? It's just like, let me just do this because I know I'm supposed to. um I need to do something about this because I hate the fact that I be like disappearing. Uh, anyway, that was random because y'all can't tell unless you're watching on YouTube. Then you can see that I'm disappearing. Anyway, last month was Women's History Month, and generally around here, you guys, we do two things. So one, we will do the 31 Days of Slay. And that is where I honor really 30 women, because I honor myself every year. But there's 30 women that I honor, and it's really like my moment of giving them their flowers and thanking them for being on the show and thanking them for their journeys and what they're doing and their yes and their obedience. And so it's always a beautiful thing because every year that I do it, I just am like, dog, I really get the opportunity to be able to speak to so like these many women at this time, right? And so we're well over 100 women that I have been interviewed on the show, and it's a blessing for me, and so I'm so grateful. We also did last month a series called Slay Chats, and so what that was that something that God told me in February, because I normally doing Women's History Month, I'll do like a series where we're talking about women's wellness and we're talking about how we can better ourselves as women and all these different things. But he really wanted me to highlight women who are doing the work, and so I was fortunate enough that every woman that I asked to participate said yes, and so we had LaShawn Dreher from Black Women Hustle. We had Shalise Tyson from uh, the Shalise Tyson. We had Madden Ashate Jones from Love Madden. We had Shadija Romero from With Love Deja. We had Michelle McKinney. If you don't know, you need to ask somebody. But she is the owner of Dreams Unleashed. We had Coach Sophia Casey, who is the co-founder of ICLI, International Coaching Teaching and Institute. It's a coaching program. We also had oh man, y'all, why am I going blank? I probably should have wrote this down. Hold on, let me look real quick because this is terrible. So let me run through these names again. Who we had, because it was a dope lineup. Okay, so who did I say? I say, oh, we had Patrice Murphy from 7 p.m. Fitness, our resident personal trainer. And we had Danielle Flowers from Danielle Flowers Photos. So I was just so excited about uh those conversations, because all of those women shared their journey on the show, and they've been doing the work. And so the purpose of the lives were, God had told me, if this is the year of doing, we need to be talking to the women who are doing. We need to be talking to the women who are doing the work and who are out here getting the results, because we could talk all day long about the things that's holding us back and the things that is causing us to have the insecurities. But we want to talk to the people who have those things, the women who've had those things, who still have those things, and they are actually slinging their self-doubt, right? They are doing it every single time that they show up. They have slayed consistently to be able to get to a place where they are comfortable where they are, and then they have grown, right? And they're continuing to be obedient. And every single woman, they kind of had the same theme of, like, writing down the vision, really just coming to grips with where they are, taking the necessary rest that they need, allowing God to lead whatever it is the vision was, doing the work, like really just doing the work, and understanding that as they continue to grow and as they continue to move forward in whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing, that fear, that insecurity, that imposter syndrome, all of that stuff is going to be there. But they get to do it anyway. Not even, yeah, they get to do it anyway. They don't let it stop them and paralyze them. And so it was very inspiring for me, because lots of times we can get caught up in a lot of the noise, right? And so even during this break, I needed it, because I needed the rest. I needed the reset for myself. I told y'all when I was sharing the story back in January that I got a new part-time. And so even pouring myself into that and figuring out, like, that's an added piece of me right now that I have to give to somebody else. Like, I need to be able to, I really had to reset to get myself grounded, to be able to go, how do we move forward? What are the things that you need to do to make sure that you're able to maintain all the things that God has given you, right? And the things that you prayed for. And so some of the things that I've realized in that space is that I got caught up in the noise sometimes. I got caught up in the fact that, I got this job and I need to be doing this. Caught up in family stuff, like wanting certain things, or even with my family being sick. Like sometimes that just takes you, anybody knows, your kids get sick, you would just, it really goes your brain goes to the left. You forget everything else because you're so concerned about it. And what was happening? My kids get sick back to back. Like somebody be sick for the week. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm so glad you feel better. Then the next kid's like, I don't feel good. I'm like, what the? Like it was literally happening like that. And so my anxiety, my nervousness, and then all the times I wasn't feeling well, so I wasn't taking care of myself 100%. And then sometimes you can get caught up in the noise of social media and just comparison and looking at everybody else doing all these things when it feels like you're doing nothing, right? Or none of those things could be happening to you, and you are caught up in the new followers that you have, and caught up in whether or not you're going viral. You're caught up in whether or not what you're doing is perfect, right? Whatever the thing is, whatever that noise is that you can get caught up, a lot of times we forget the reason why we started this journey, right? And so for me, I was like, there's so many things that I want to do and so many reasons why I'm trying to continue to push to move forward that sometimes I forget why I started. What was the foundation of slaying self doubt in the first place, right? And that is, we started this, or God gave this to me, was for us to, basically identify our fears, our doubts, our insecurities, those things that were holding us back so that we can walk into our God given purpose, right? And it's either you get stuck in the noise, the things that are distracting you from the work that needs to be done, which is kind of what we were talking about in the slate chats. Like there's work to this. There's work. This is the year of doing, right? And so what I really want to do for the month of April is give you all 4 tips, including myself, on how to slay yourself doubt. And what I mean by that is really like, it's a reassessment. This is what we're doing. We're doing a reassessment. And I think, we talk about you setting goals for here we talk about setting smart growth or smart goals every year or every quarter, so that you're able to kind of keep up with the process and keep up with what you're going to, so that you're making some traction, and you're doing some things, but then also that it's important to do this so where you're headed, right? And so with these 4 steps, what I hope to be able to give you is a way to reset, right? I had provided you all with this journal that journal prompts that I had put in the show notes, which were when you kind of get thrown off a little bit and you go back and you say, okay, what's the last thing that God told me to do? This would be a great start to this, right? And then why didn't I do that? What were the things that stopped me from doing that, right? So I'll take, for instance, we'll say this. So for me personally, the last thing God told me to do was to exercise for 30 minutes every day. Like it don't even have to be big, but if your thing want to be big, you can make it big, and it could be multiple things. So you can fill that out multiple times. But we're going to say this because my health is very important for what it is that I need to do, and the fact that I want to still be able to do the things that God called me to do. So all the times we talk about like we're whole women. So all of the things that we have to do count towards us reaching our goal, count towards us pursuing our purpose and getting to that place. So my health is important, right? And so if I were to say, okay, what was the last thing God told me to do? Last thing God told me to do was to exercise for 30 minutes every day. So why didn't that happen? Well, some very practical things happen. Girl, you were sick, right? You were, for 2 months, you were sick. 2 months is what, like 8 weeks? For 8 weeks, you were sick probably 4.5 of them, right? So some of that stuff is, I can't get out of that. If I'm sick, and the last time I was sick, it actually was, I had some breathing issues. Like, we're not going to keep pushing ourselves until you not to you are incapable of doing it, but it's like realistic things, like what stopped me from doing that. And so what was the thing? Okay, I was sick, but okay, so on the days that you wasn't sick, what stopped you? I didn't go to bed on time. I didn't get up in enough time. I made the decision in the car, dressed to go to the gym, and said, no, I'ma just go home. These are real things. And so then the third question asks, what needs to be removed in over the next 30 days in order for you to do it? Well, I need to go to bed at 10 o'clock. I need to get up 30 minutes earlier. I need to make sure that my clothes are set out, and I need to affirm myself, or like I need to remind myself why I'm doing this. This is the reason why I'm going to the gym today. I'm going because I I want to have strength, and I want to have good health, and I want to, you know, I want to feel good, right? Like I want to feel good and I want to look good, okay? And so that's the reason why I'm going. And so being able to do those things helped me to be like, okay, let's get a reset and let's go. We going. And so today is, so that's the like the kind of like the, I guess like the pre part, right? So today I want to talk about one of the 4 ways is surrendering to the journey. Now we've talked about surrender before, um, actually multiple times, and I think it's because it's literally the most important part of this journey. And so I always use this definition, or this explanation from Cambridge Dictionary, which says, if you surrender to an experience or an emotion, you stop trying to prevent it or control it. If you surrender to an experience or emotion, you stop trying to prevent it or control it. Now, whenever I read that, I always be like, but do I? And the answer is no. I don't be. I don't. Because I do try, I don't try to prevent. No, I continue to control it, right? That is the thing, right? And so really when we talking about surrender, is releasing, it's letting go. It is taking your hand off the wheel. It is surrender, right? And so I always want to, when it comes to stuff like this, I'd be like, okay, what do the Bible say? What does God say about this? And so I looked it up and I thought it was so interesting. And one of the things I always do when I'm looking up scriptures is that I will compare. This is the benefit. This is a side note. It's the benefit of having like electronic Bibles, like the Bible app or whatever, because you're able to compare scriptures to be able to, get it so that you understand. So I read one. I was like, I kind of get it. Then I read the easy version. I was like, oh, okay. But this is the one I liked. Okay. So it's Matthew 16:24. And in the amplified version, so sometimes in some of the Bibles, they'll give you a title for whatever the next set of passages are. Yeah, I'm trying to get it all together. But it says, so in the amplified version, the title of this says, discipleship is costly. Okay. So it says, then Jesus said to his disciples, if anyone wishes to follow me, in the brackets, as my disciple, he must deny himself, in the brackets, set aside selfish interests, and take up his cross, in the brackets, expressing a willingness to endure whatever may come, and follow me, brackets, believing in me, conforming to my example in living, and if need be, suffering or perhaps dying because of faith in me. And so I was like, oh, that's what it means. It was the follow me. Okay, so take up your cross is a taking up your cross is an expression of a willingness to endure whatever may come, right? And so that is that whole like, okay, we're just gonna go, like, people talk about blind faith, and they was like, I'm just gonna go in that direction. And it says to follow me, believing in me, conforming to my example in living, and if need be, suffering or perhaps dying because of faith in me. And so to me, as I read that, was like, following Jesus is not easy. It's not going to be this, oh, I decided to give my life to Christ and now everything is rainbows and sunshine. Nah, that's not, he clearly says that. It's no, if you have to die to yourself daily, right? First of all, you got to die to your flesh daily, So you continue denying yourself. That is the set aside selfish interest, right? And so if we go back to the Cambridge Dictionary, say if you surrender to an experience or an emotion, you stop trying to prevent or control it. That is the setting aside the selfish interest. Because when we try to control stuff, it is not for other people's benefits. It's for us. We are trying to control it to make ourselves feel comfortable, to make ourselves look better, to be able to get the outcome that we want. So it's selfish. It is a selfish thing when you are trying to control something, right? And so, what God is saying that if you follow me, that means that you believe in me. Like you have to believe him, and then you have to conform to his example. What does that look like? Like you have to know that for yourself. And I think even if you listen to the rewind in February of Obedience is My Responsibility series, I talked a lot about the fact that you have to develop your own personal relationship with God so that you know, right? But he's telling you that this is not going to be easy. And so I'm not saying that surrender is easy. I'm not saying it is work, right? And so this is the year of doing. If your work is that if you're doing is that you need to learn how to surrender to the journey, and you need to start right there. Like each of these tips, it may not be, you may be like, oh, I don't got to worry about that. Whatever the Lord tell me to do, I do it, right? Everything that I'm going to tell you over this month, everything may not apply at this very moment. But if you know that this is the thing that I'm struggling with, this is the thing, like I am still getting in God's way. I am still thinking that I have control over these situations, is ridiculous, right? And so you have to decide, like, is this my doing this month? Is this my doing this year? Is my doing surrender? Is it surrendering to whatever it is? And so for me, I usually equate surrendering to floating in the water. I posted a video on Instagram, I think last year or the year before last, about it. I'll add it to the show notes. But anyway, I always say surrendering is like floating in the water. That's an act of surrender. You are surrendering to the water. You are allowing it to take you, carry you. That's what it's doing. It's holding you up. It is carrying you to wherever you need to go. But people who don't know how to float, guess what? They are trying to control where they go. My husband doesn't know how to float. And he always be like, I don't think I can do it. And I'd be like, you can if you allowed it to happen. We all can surrender, because I guarantee you surrender to something. You'd have to figure out what it is, but we all surrender to something, right? And we just allow things to just kind of happen, right? But when you think about floating and you think about swimming and you think about learning how to swim, if you are able to float, I, here's a word: if you are able to float without swimming, you will survive. You don't have to know how to swim. If you know how to float, you will survive. I say this often. People don't always drown because they don't know how to swim. It's because they panic. They're trying to keep themselves up in something that's bigger than them. They're flailing their arms, they kicking around, they heavy breathing, all of that stuff, instead of just letting go. Letting go, trusting that the water is going to do what it's supposed to do. The water will hold you up, but that takes practice. Right. I learned how to swim on my own. I taught myself how to float. I didn't initially know how to float. You see these videos sometimes where you see babies and they like, oh, babies could, probably because they just came out the womb. Like they may know that off the break. But when you are having to, it's still somebody there teaching them until they know. When kids go to get swimming lessons and they get into it, somebody is right there. There's a lifeguard right there being like, oh, okay, wait a minute, nope, you took your eyes off whatever, you started focusing on something else, nope, let's start over. And so if this is your work that you have to do, if this is your doing, is surrendering, you need to figure out for yourself, like, what do I need to do or let go of to surrender? What do I need to surrender or let go of? That's really the question of today's episode, is what do you need to surrender or let go of? How do you do that? What does that look like for you? Like you have to be able to know what that looks like. I can't tell you what it looks like because it looks differently for everybody. Now, for me, personally, when it comes to this journey of slaying self-doubt, surrender for me looks like posting whatever, recording, posting, going live, saying something without thinking about the result, right? Surrender to me looks like applying to these grants and these opportunities without making sure it's perfect. Surrender to me in this journey looks like allowing God to do whatever it is that He says He's going to do. I heard a sermon. It was a sermon, an older sermon from 2020 from my church, and he was talking about the story of Jonah, and he shared that in one of the series, sermons in the series, he was talking about hearing, believing, and obeying. And so he said, believing comes precedes obeying, right? And so believing precedes obedience. And so he says that the reason why we don't obey is because we don't believe that God's going to do what He say He's going to do. That's what makes it hard. Same thing with surrender, letting go and allowing God to do what that's if you don't believe that He got you, if you don't believe that that water's going to hold you, you're not going to surrender to it at all. You're going to be like, oh, let me look over here. Who right there? Who's, you know what I'm saying? You have to believe that the water has you. You have to believe that God has you. And so one of the things that he said that it was a takeaway for me was, um, I have to trust God with the consequences of my obedience. I have to trust God with the consequences of my obedience, which just basically means like the fallout is on Him, especially if He's sending me. If He gave this to me and I said yes, and I'm trusting Him with the assignment, like he's trusting me with the assignment, but He's giving me things along the way. He's telling me that I need you to go this way, I need you to go that way, I need you to apply to this, I need you to talk to this person, I need you to, sign up for this, I need you to start doing that. But I'm over here saying, no, I don't want to do it that way. I don't know, because I'm trying to control how it look. Well, God, I've said this before. Everybody over here selling shirts. Maybe that's what I can do. Maybe you can, but not right now. That's not what He's calling. He's asking you to do this, and you're trying to do that. Though you're confusing who's in charge, right? That's what's happening. We're confusing who's in charge, right? And so oftentimes you hear preachers talk about the illusion of control, right? If we do not have any control over the things that we really do think that we have control over. I can't, I have self-control, which is what God gave us. I have self-control, but when sometimes we get caught, even talking about the noise, like you get so caught up in yourself thinking that you have created everything and you have done all these things for yourself, when in actuality, that is not true. God is working behind the scenes. He's doing all of the things, but you keep trying to take ownership. You keep trying to take uh the I can't think of the word right now, but you try to say like I did that, and that's not it. And if you are on a God thing, you have to remove yourself out of it. And I learned that I had to take myself out of it. I am learning that I have to continue to take myself out of it. So surrender is a daily thing. I'm not, I can't just say, oh, I surrendered and that's it. No, because every day He asks me to do something different. Even when it comes to my parenting, right? There are times my husband says something to me. He's like, my son went to a dance and I was, oh, child, he go to a dance. It was at the school, but still, if you are in our area, child, if you are in listening to the news and the amount of drugs that are happening in our high schools and in our middle schools and the epidemic that's going on, if it doesn't cause you some type of panic, I don't know. I don't know. But for me, I'm just like some stuff is just too close. So you just don't know. You don't know what other kids are going through. You don't know what other kids are trying and asking their kid, their friends to try. Oh, go ahead, you can have this. With you got simple stuff. Babies bringing gummies to school and sharing them with their friends, and come to find out they all weed gummies. Like some stuff is just unintentional and it's innocent, right? But you just don't know. And so for me in that teenage phase, I'm like, this is the time where people are Kids are experimenting and kids are trying to figure out who they are and the set of friends that they have. And as parents, we build their foundation and we build this level of trust with them. And we are, entrusting that we did our job, right? But the reality is that I don't have any control over what happens. I don't have any control when he leaves my sight and goes to school. I don't have no control. The only thing I can do is trust that I did my job. Trust that he has the common sense, he has the foundational sense that this isn't for me. I shouldn't be doing this. This is not right. And ultimately I have great kids and I'm grateful for it. That doesn't stop the anxiety as a parent. However, I can't control him. All I can do is teach him self-control. And so then that means can't nobody control me. And I don't control nothing else. All I have is self control. So, what am I in charge of? It's me. So, if I have something that I need to do, then I need to just do it, like, period. And so, you know, what I want you all to be able to get out of this whole thing is that when you like, Jesus take the wheel, take your knees off the bottom of that wheel. If anybody know how listen, you got kids, you never tried to eat, you never tried to put on some makeup, even if you're texting and driving, and please do not. But if you do it, everybody know you done put your knee at the bottom of it and you still staring, right? Because the car's still moving, right? And then you put your hands back on the wheel. And what I'm saying is that if you are surrendering to the journey and you're saying, God, I want you to lead it, you have to walk away. You have to step back and you just gotta let it play out. You have to stop trying to prevent or control the situation or the experience, because you're gonna miss some things, or it's gonna take you longer to get to the thing that he wants you to do because you're going the wrong way, baby. I can guarantee you that. You're going the wrong way and you're gonna be going the long way. When if God has a blessing on it, why would he trust you with greater if the little bit he gave you, you are trying to control it? It ain't for you anyway. It's not for you. I say that all the time. Our obedience is connected to somebody somewhere. Your obedience is not about you. It's about the people who need you. And so stop being selfish, Felicia. Okay? Felicia, stop being selfish. Felicia, stop trying to control stuff and surrender to the journey. God only cares about our obedience. Period. So, the takeaway for today, y'all, what do you need to surrender or let go of? That's it. That's literally that is it. I want you to answer that for yourself. If you're feeling bold, go ahead and answer it underneath the comments for this episode. I mean, underneath the post for this episode, or even send me an email about it. And if you feel like this is something that you need assistance or help in really figuring out what that thing is, that is what coaching is for, right? And so, as your slaying self-doubt coach, this is my job. My job is to be able to find that thing, or to be able to help you to surrender, because surrender is in you. It just like control is in you. It's all in you. So you can do it, but one has to be greater than the other, right? We all have the ability to slay our self-doubt on a daily basis, but we first have to start, and we got to start by surrendering to the journey. So if you feel like it's something that you need some assistance on, and you want support, you want some accountability, you want somebody to walk alongside you, go ahead and book a connection call with me, and we can go ahead and get connected and figure out what that thing is, so that um, you can do the assignment and you can do it proudly, and you have the tools that when self-doubt creeps up again, you already know what you need to do. Oh, this is light work, right? I ain't even worried about it. This is light work right here. Let me just go ahead and figure out what are the things, because that's what happens. Like I told y'all, it's levels to stuff, and as you continue to go up, your self-doubt has the possibility of getting louder. And what we just need to do is lower your voice. You're talking too loud. And I don't have time for all of that, right? That's what we want to be able to do. So As always, y'all, thank you so much for rocking with me. If you have enjoyed this podcast and you found it valuable, please consider making a donation by buying me a coffee. Your support will help me create new content. I want to create a podcast studio so that I don't have to be worrying about this disappearing actors going on with my hoodie. And to also reach more people because more people need to be on this movement, y'all. I'm telling you, I'm out here like modding. This face belongs on a tube. All right. And so your donations help us, you know, get the things that we need to be able to grow this movement. As always, y'all, therapy and Jesus and therapy, whatever order you wanted to go in. But I want you to take charge of your mental health. I want you to get we partnered with BetterHelp, so you can get 10% off your first month of therapy at betterhelp.com/slang SLAYING. Link is always in the show notes. Make sure you're subscribed to the Slayer Nation newsletter. That is going out once a month, guys. But I did have somebody tell me that they missed the slay 3 ways to slay your week, and so I don't know, it might be coming back in some form or fashion, but I gotta figure out how to fit it all in so I can do it. And then lastly, y'all, make sure that you are sharing this episode and every episode that you listen to with at least 10 people so that we can hit 100,000 downloads this year. Remember, follow me on Instagram at slang self doubt. I'm slang self doubt everywhere. Until next episode, see ya.